Great. So hopefully everybody else can see the screen and the video. Just do a brief introduction, as I mentioned, on who we are, and thank you for joining us, and what the mass process is, and some basic questions, things that are happening to give you an overview, the things you should be aware of, things to take into consideration that you want to be aware of when you're migrating your schedule or multiple schedules. So I'll start with that. So we have been in business for almost 20 years now, since 2001, helping companies acquire and maintain their GSA schedules, as well as federal opportunities in general. We work with the SBA on a great grant program that's coming out to the commercial market here shortly, specifically about capture planning, finding opportunities, understanding those opportunities, and understanding the federal market in general. That's coming out. We've helped companies in 47 states and 9 countries. On average, our advisors have 15 years experience. We've got a great process here and great programs. It's all internal, and we have great systems that kind of help us manage labor categories, clients, products, and other uploads. That's all part of our contract management system and how we help others. They understand the federal government and are successful in that. So quickly, phase 3, there's 3 phases total for the mass consolidation. This is a brainchild of the program management organization at GSA, and the intention is to reduce redundancies and clauses and remove some of the confusion with SINs. There was redundancy in the SINs as well. So they've removed about 800 total SINs and 150 plus contract clauses from those solicitations doing this migration. So it's going to help between delivering large-scale solutions or broader solutions that cover more than one schedule type or discrete schedule. Going to move them all together, change the SIN so that they're based on the NAICS codes, which is more prevalent in the federal market anyway, and allow you to provide services and products that may fall under multiple schedules in the previous legacy system. Phase 1 was officially launched October 1, 2019. The solicitation came out for the multiple award schedule. Terms and conditions, all new offers will be submitted under that solicitation. So if you're looking to get on schedule, you'll have to go to FBO, which is now beta.sam.gov, look for contract opportunities. We have some links to it as well. I'll send you following this discussion to get the latest terms and conditions and how to develop your offer in response to the new solicitation. This is still under review. GSA has started looking at those new offers that were submitted against the solicitation. They have not provided a time frame for how long that'll take. Our best estimate is probably gonna be 6 to 9 months for review. That may be optimistic with all the transitions and changes going on right now, and you may be looking at maybe closer to 12 months. All the more reason to kind of get in there now. But once they figure out the transition and these things kind of wash over, we think they'll get back down to 3 to 6 months, as the IT division has been doing, and probably they'll stay away from the 12-month cycles they've been stuck on for some of the OO Corp and HR functions they had before. So phase 2, that's where we're at now. For some of you, depending on what schedule you're on, you should have received a mass modification asking you to accept the new terms and conditions of the multiple award schedule. There's a phased push out of these mass modifications. That helps with the transition. They didn't want to send it to everybody at once and then have to deal with those questions and answers and trying to get things accomplished. So there were 7 schedules affected on Friday. That was the first rollout. 03 FAC, 23V, 36, 48, 51V, 58I, and 599. Those ones came out Thursday. If you were on a 00 Corp schedule, professional services schedule, then you would have received yours yesterday or today. Tomorrow will be Schedule 70. The next day will be Schedule 70 as well. Those are the 2 largest schedules, 70 and PSS. And then they're going to phase out the other ones over the following 3 days. And so Tuesday will be the last one, doing bulk send-outs. So once you get that mass mod, it'll include a pin and a link to accept the new terms and conditions. Everyone has to accept it. It's mandatory. If you have multiple schedules, you're going to have to accept this for every schedule. So keep that in mind. Even if it's going to consolidate later, but each schedule has to be modified and migrated over to the new mass individually before you can merge them. Things to consider: once you sign the mask mod, if everything's in line and it's okay, and you accept the terms and conditions, you'll have to create a new price list, GSA Schedule price list. It's going to be based on the new solicitation. IFS 600 has a delineation of terms and conditions that have to be on there and what needs to be included on your cover letter, what SIN references, etc. So once you accept it, you're going to have to update your price list and then upload it through SIP or EDI to get on Advantage eLibrary. Do not sign it yet if you have an option to extend mod in the works, already submitted to GSA, or an add SIN mod or a delete SIN mod. If these things were submitted to GSA prior to January 31st, then you have to contact your contracting officer and work with them directly, because the SINs are changing. So they're either going to have to review this quickly and get an award made so that you can accept the mask mod, or reject or ask you to withdraw until the mod's been accepted, and then they're holding all add SIN, delete SIN modifications on forbearance until March. Mid-March is kind of the question right now. If they can get things done a little faster, then they'll move that up and allow people to submit modifications sooner than later. Keep that in mind. And then following that, phase 3, which will be the largest and biggest item, will be around July 1st. Your contracting officer is going to reach out to you if you have more than one SIN or more than one schedule, and have some questions about which schedule you want to maintain and which one you want to merge into that existing one. If you only have one schedule, managing that, nothing's going to change. You have already accepted terms and conditions, you have the price list. It's just a matter of continuing to sell and looking at potentially growing the scope of your schedule. So now you can add products and services that were not on your schedule previously that expand and go beyond the traditional scope. If you do have multiple schedules, there's things to consider that you're going to want to talk to your CO and internally with your team to make sure you understand. The remaining contract duration: if one contract has 10 years left on it with the options and another one only has 3, well, obviously you want to extend, merge into the one with the 10 that gives you a longer contract life. Another thing to consider, and this is a big one, if you have, say, IT 70 and you're on the transactional data reporting versus a 00 Corp where you're on a commercial sales practice that has basis of award and most favored customer discount relationships that have to be managed, you want to consider which one's going to be easier for you to manage, because it's going to be, you can't do both. So whichever schedule you accept, if a TDR is part of that schedule, then all of your SINs will migrate over to a TDR, transactional data reporting, or to the commercial sales practice, depending on which way you go. So again, that's something you want to talk to the contracting officer and make sure your systems are in place to manage it either way. Another thing to consider is preponderance of sales. Where are you getting most of the contracts? You want to make sure that your clients still know how to find you and to get you the products and service, the opportunities that you need. Familiarity with the CO, the contracting officer. If you know you have a good one, they process modifications quickly, you understand what they need. That's a great relationship. You want to maintain that, maybe take that into consideration in choosing which schedule to maintain. Open task orders. If you have open task orders, it's going to be difficult to merge your 2 contracts. So find the one that doesn't have an open task order and merge that one into the one that does. Assuming that's the best merge for you, so there's a lot to consider, but you can't merge where you have an open task order. It can create some issues. If it's a BPA or something else that's continually, or it's already awarded, then your CO is going to want to work with you to find the best solution. And your purchasing contracting officer should work with you to do a modification or update in any way they need to. Another thing to consider is NAICS size standards. You may be a large business on one schedule and a small business on the other. Take that into consideration. If you want to be a small business to have those opportunities, then you may want to merge towards the small business. NAICS code size standard. So those are all things you want to take into consideration when you're going to make this. That's not going to happen until July, but something to start thinking about, to look at. I'm going to unmute the microphone so that if anybody has any questions, we can go ahead and answer those now, or if you submit it through the chat function, I can respond to those as well. Okay, do you have any questions? Or Cindy, do we have any written questions?
Yeah, let Let me see. So I got one from Barry saying, how can I find what my new sins will be?
Yeah, great. So Barry, there are two different sites, really three sites. I'll send the link out later that covers both a spreadsheet that covers the legacy sins and then migrating over to the new one. Also, you can go to GSA eLibrary. The mass schedule is now there, so you can find all the sins that are available for that schedule. And GSA has a great roadmap site. We'll also send you that link so you can find out exactly one, how the process is working, and two, which sins are available now.
I have one. Oh, sorry. Somebody else have a question? Nope. Okay. So I have one from Mason saying, I have two GSA schedules. When will they be consolidated and how?
Right, so great question. So July 1st is when they'll begin that transition, and you'll work directly with your contracting officers to identify which schedule will be merged, which schedule will be kept. Again, you really want to take into consideration all those points I mentioned before, which, TDR versus CSP, remaining contract duration, the NAICS size standard, that's going to be a big item.
I didn't have a question from Don or Diana. And should I change my SAM in anticipation of the new SINs? NAICS code?
Oh, only if if your SAM does not currently have those NAICS codes on them, then you want to go to SAM to ensure that the NAICS code you're accepting, the SIN that are based on the NAICS you're accepting, are also reflected in your SAM. So if you do not have those already in your SAM, yes, go back and update your SAM to include that. Something tangential, the GSA, which manages SAM, they are going to be creating a unique identifier that's going to replace the DUNS. Nothing you have to do other than stay in SAM and stay registered. But as you go through that process, you're going to get a new number, and that's going to replace the DUNS. DUNS will exist because a lot of people use them, but they wanted to control their own destiny, and so they created this new unique identification number.
Okay. Let me see. I'm looking at getting on GSA schedule. How long is an offer review under the new consolidation?
Right, it's still not known because this is a new process for them, and all the contracting officers are getting trained. Some contracting officers are more familiar with services or products, and now they have to look over and do both. So right now, our best estimate based on experience when they migrated the professional services schedule over would be somewhere between 6 to 9 months for review. Some large categories might take a little longer, up to 12 months. Again, it's how quickly this transition can occur and how ramped up GSA can get on training these individuals. They have a pretty good team up there. I think once everything's moving forward, we'll get back down to around 3 to 6 months for review times. But at this point, I would say consider 6 to 9 if you're going to be planning ahead.
Okay. So I want to see if anybody online here has any other questions you might want to ask. You are more than welcome to. Nope. Okay. I have a couple on the list here that some of the chats that submitted, or some of the people that had submitted include. And another is, what actions do they need to take now if they're a current GSA schedule holder? I'm not sure if you answered that already.
No, but I'm happy to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, if you'll receive that mass modification based on your current legacy schedule. So when that comes in, you'll want to go review the terms and conditions to see what's changing, how it's happening, what new SINs are going to be transferred over. And if you do not have a current option to extend, add SIN, or delete SIN mod in work, then go ahead and accept it. It is mandatory, required. Once you accept it, you will be required to update your FSS price list and product files back up to GSA Advantage eLibrary. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do have an open option, add SIN or delete SIN mod in work, then you're going to want to contact your contracting officer and see how they want to handle it. Again, they may expedite the review of those modifications to get them done, or they may ask you to reject or withdraw that modification. Option to extend would be something separate. They'd want to review that more expeditiously to get you in the place where you can accept the mod. Now, I'll say we do have a contracting officer we're working with right now that allowed our company, which had an option to extend mod in work, accept it. He said, just go ahead, accept it. I'll figure it out later. Contact your CO before accepting it if that's an issue. Not all the COs are going to be as understanding.
Okay. And the last question I have here that was submitted, things we haven't covered, is where do they get more information on mass consolidation?
Yeah, and I'll send out the slides as well as some important links. Obviously, ColeyGSA.com/blogs covers a lot of information. We always update that site with new information that's coming in, the transition process. That'll all be available there. And it has links back to the GSA sites that cover the mass consolidation. A good place is GSA Interact. That's their forum and social media site. You can go there and catch a lot of the updates. They're usually submitted out to the industry before they're submitted out through, say, the solicitation process. And as well as GSA has their own roadmap and multiple award schedule page that discuss these items, GSA e-library as well. Again, I'll send all those links following this, but those are the primary sources.
Okay. All right, I had a question from Joseph earlier, but he was asking about our GSA consulting costs. But Joseph, I think I didn't know if you were referencing regarding just this free AMA session or like additional services. I'll send you an email with just our additional services in case you were interested in that. I'll do that offline.
Interested, yeah, please reach out to us. We work both on hourly and fixed price solutions. You know, we understand what it takes to get on the schedule and how. So we always come up with a nice fixed price. You know exactly what you're getting into. You know the payment schedule, and we know who we're working with, so we can get you on the schedule. If there's a rejection or other issue, we always respond to that and get it back in. So we'll get you on schedule if we work with you.
Okay.
I got a question. They said you have to upload, you have to revise your price list and product list. What specifically do you need to revise on it? Or is it just the general information about the SIN?
Yeah, it's primarily the SIN and the schedule. So it won't say 00 Corp anymore. If that's your schedule, it'll say, you know, the multiple award schedule, Schedule 99. So that's primarily, nothing really has changed as far as the terms and conditions. Whatever you've agreed to at GSA in the past, as far as approved products, approved pricing, discount relationships, all that remains the same. Nothing changes there. It's just the SIN. So you have to update the SIN and the schedule number. The rest should stay the same.
Okay, so it's just like 2 fields you have to change on your product list.
Correct.
And upload it again. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And if anybody's not familiar with that, SIP, Schedule Input Program, is their upload system. They use the software. You'll go into that. This is a good point. If you're using the SIP program yourself, they have a merge contract option, and you'll want to merge the contract. It should update the SINs automatically within the actual portal there, the dashboard, for you when you do the merge. You'll have to create your own text file and product file that has the correct SINs as well and upload them, but you'll do the merge schedules option. Don't create a whole new one and don't update your existing one. If you go through EDI, then it's like creating a new one. So again, it's all how you're handling your processes.
All right, do we have any other questions? Did you want to go through some of the slides, Dan, that you had prepared just in case you wanted to reference them?
Yeah, if anybody wants to stick around, I'll go through a little more detail on each of the items, the phases, what's required, what's not. Again, you'll get this afterwards. So we'll cover these bases. Phase 1, you know, again, removing remediation or redundancy, merging all 24 schedules. This does not affect the VA FSS schedule. Keep that in mind. those will continue to exist as discrete schedules managed by the VA, but all GSA schedules will be combined into one. These are the large categories. So basically what they did was take these 24 separate schedules, reduce that down to 12 large categories listed below. 83 subcategories. So within those professional services, there will be one specific to engineering and to environmental, et cetera. And there's 317 SINs now. So again, a massive deletion of a lot of SINs, all based on NAICS now. So it's broad, and you shouldn't have products that are covered under 2 separate SINs. If it fits under one SIN, that's where it belongs. There are a few SINs, legacy SINs, that will not be carried over, and some that are actually being merged into multiple new SINs. So if that is the situation you have, keep this in mind that you're going to get 2 SINs now instead of the one you had. And if you feel any of those are redundant or you don't need them, then work with your contracting officer. Will be a delete mod to get rid of that extra SIN. But you will get both SINs, so they're not going to limit you. You have till July 31st to accept, though. When you look at, that's what they say on their site. But when you go to the actual mass mod itself, it says 90 days from accepting or from the submission. So again, work with your CO if you have something outstanding that can't get awarded, such as the option to extend, add SIN, and delete SIN. You want to make sure they understand and you guys are on the same page on how to handle that. Here's some of the links. I mentioned the new solicitation. You want to see that, the new clauses. They have an Excel sheet that directly shows you what new clauses exist now for each large category and which one exists for all SINs. You can see this is the level of SINs that are going to be migrated into multiple new SINs. So for instance, 874.4, 874, 871.1, those are a lot of the professional services schedules. Those are big ones. They're just going to migrate over to 2 or more new SINs. So you're actually going to increase your SIN catalog, but it's up to you to kind of identify whether or not you need all of those. If you only need one for like courses, then keep that one NAICS and work with your CO to delete those. After, as I mentioned before, you want to update eLibrary and GSA Advantage based on the IFS 600 clause. Again, primarily the only changes are going to be the SIN and the schedule type. Delete SINs and new SINs, those are going to be on hold until March, mid-March. If you want to do any modifications to your schedule, all the other types of modifications are still available. It's just the adding and deleting of the SINs that they're going to put on hold. And this is to help manage that transition period. Streamlined offers. So for instance, if you're in your last option period and you were going to submit a streamlined offer to get the additional 20 years with the options, you'll have to create a whole new schedule. The new mass, because of the catalog changes and everything, GSA is just going to ask everyone to start over brand new. If you have options, no problem, continue doing the options and you'll be fine. But if you're going to be following a streamlined submission, then you're going to have to basically just submit a new offer, identify that you have an existing contract, and that'll help the review cycle go further and faster. But it is something to consider. I mentioned before, you'll work with your contracting officer if you have more than one schedule. It's understanding how to migrate and when to migrate those 2 schedules together. Important things to consider, as I mentioned before, TDR versus CSP, how your systems are tracking cells now, where the preponderance of cells are coming from, the CO. Happy to talk to anybody about those items as it gets closer to that date, if you have any questions. Those are the SINs. So that covers all 3 phases and how GSA is going to be handling those. Any other additional questions following that?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for following up, and anyone that included an email, we'll send you the presentation and any relevant links. If you have any other questions outside of this or looking to the presentation, you can contact me directly at dcoley at Coley GSA. You can call us 210-402-6766. Visit our website, or hello at Coley GSA is also an email address you can reach. Thank you.
Thank you.